Welcome to another edition of the Invisible Wheelchair Podcast. I'm Donald Grodoff, family coach with FamilyOCD.com and FocusedHealthyFamily.com. In the Invisible Wheelchair Podcast series, I delve into the hidden characteristics of OCD, anxiety, and anxiety disorders, the things that most people don't see, that are behind closed doors and shut within the mind about anxiety. My goal with these podcasts is to bring about awareness of obsessive compulsive disorder, or OCD. Understand that I am not a doctor, therapist, or counselor, and the content, information, resources, and ideas that are talked about and brought up here in these podcasts are things that I have used, discovered, or have been recommended to me, and I always recommend to seek additional professional help in finding solutions for yourself. Thank you for listening and enjoy the podcast. This podcast was recorded March 1st, 2019. It is podcast number 26, called Arm Length Awareness. In this podcast, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to start out asking you to do something. I want you to stretch out your arm straight out in front of yourself so it's perpendicular to your body. Open up your hand so the palm is facing up. Now, bend your open hand so your fingers are pointing up to the sky. And then cup your hand towards your face as if you were going to catch something that you're going to spit out. Now imagine yourself saying something and the words are flowing out into your cupped extended hand. In other words, the words are flowing down your arm and into your cupped hand. Now imagine those words are coming out, that they're negative words, and you're catching them and holding them in your extended hand. Now I want you to imagine that it's not just words that you're able to catch in the cupped extended hand, but also the negative thoughts, actions, and of course, the words. And each time you catch them, you hold them in your hand so you can see them. Are you getting a picture of what I'm describing? What arm-length awareness is about catching yourself saying, doing, or thinking negative things that are not serving you, where you can almost see them and become aware of them. Because what I believe is that awareness is the first step in healing, changing, or fixing anything. You know, when you get a fever, you become aware that you are sick, maybe even before that. When you see raindrops on the window, you become aware that it is raining. A lot of the negative events and messages and actions that we do, we have done for them for so long that we've lost our awareness of them. We don't even know that they're happening. They become so, what you might call subconscious, that you're not aware of the negative thoughts or the negative messages that you give about yourself. And so they become hidden. And so we have to work on becoming aware of them again. Because as long as you're not aware of them, you're denying them. And in denying them, you're pushing them down. You're not letting them come out. So what I teach clients is to really become aware of what they say to themselves, or the actions that they do, or even the thoughts that they think that aren't serving them. And I call this arm length awareness, because we want to catch it out. It's already come out. Can't stop it. Can't take it back. Can't change it. It's already out into the universe. But we want to catch it somewhere and recognize it. So you're catching them kind of like imagine you're catching them in that hand, even though, you're not literally catching them, but so you're tuning into what's being said, done thought by yourself. And you're really tuning into an awareness about it. Because once you can be aware of it, really the next step is accepting it. Because what happens most times is people do something. Maybe you smacked your child. Maybe you yelled at somebody, a coworker, or a friend, or a spouse, and you really regret it. You just wish for God's sake you wouldn't have done that. Well, the problem is we beat ourselves up because we did it. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Almost smacking yourself on the head going, I shouldn't have done that, I shouldn't have done that, I shouldn't have done that. That doesn't help. That doesn't change the issue. It really only makes you feel worse, gives you more anxiety than the actual action that you did or the words that you said. So the next step after you've caught it and become aware of it is to accept it. Oh, there it is again. I don't like that, but I know that it's happened. I can't change that. And I don't like it, and I want to work on changing it. That's what I really work with my clients in, getting them to, first off, just even to know what some of these messages are. There are some really negative messages. As I work with a client, I'll go from a place of them talking about a situation or something that happened and how bad it was and how this person did this and that person did this and this and it was such a mess and I shouldn't have the shoulds come out. I shouldn't have been there, shouldn't have done that. What I then dig down into is getting down to not the messages about that person or that situation but really what is said inside of yourself, about the situation. I call them the I statements. When we get to a place of, it's all my fault, or I should be this or that. I should be further along than this. I should be smarter than this. I should, those kind of I statements is what really is holding our anxiety up and what we really want to work on. So that's what we're digging for in this, and that's where awareness becomes really important. Because if you think about it, when we're in our head, when we're using our head for our guidance, it is working on history. It is working on what's happened in the past and comparing it to what's happening now and using the past to kind of solve it, which doesn't help any because it just keeps you in the pattern, keeps you in the same cycle. So we have to get it out of the head. And what I look at doing by like I say, becoming aware, we pull it out in front of us almost in a way. That's why I like putting my hand out in front of me like that. It makes me think about when I become aware, I see the issue. I really can see it. Maybe not clearly all the way, but we can at least know that we see it now. Because until we can see it and accept it, we can't change it. So we want to remember that it's important to get through the issue and not just keep pounding it down. Because I believe that anxiety or stress in an issue, if pushed down and pushed down and pushed down inside of you and never allowed to release, can become a physical issue as well as an emotional issue, and cause a lot of physical pains and suffering. And so we want to get it out of our mind and change the perspective around it. So we got to start with this awareness. And we catch it out here at an arm's length, let's say. That's just kind of a way to envision it. But what we're trying to do is slowly shorten that arm so we stop it closer and closer and closer to ourselves until we stop it from actually happening. In other words, if you imagine that arm being pulled back each time you're stopping it sooner until you're blocking your mouth so that words don't come out. Well, it's not just words, it's action. So the action doesn't come out, or the thought doesn't come out, or the words don't come out. So we want to bring it back to that state. We want to keep going now till we back it up to where it's not even a thought. So arm length awareness is vitally important. Like I say, awareness, you don't know to fix your car till you become aware of a problem. You don't just take it into a mechanic and go, just fix it. Okay? I don't know what's wrong. I don't even know that there's anything wrong. Just fix it. No, it's not until you, oh, I heard a noise. I'm aware of a noise. I'm aware that there's some kind of problem. That's where you begin. So it's just as important in our mind to have the same feelings. And then the other thing I'd like to talk about with that is being compassionate to our mind. Our mind is really just there to protect us. Of course, it holds those memories. And that's what it's working off. If it's working off history, what have we, something triggers for us, and it goes back into the mind file and goes, okay, what happened that's similar to this? Oh, here it is. It's this. Let's play this. So you follow this, and that'll solve the problem. And that's not necessarily true. But what I always like to make clear to my clients and to you is that you want to be compassionate to the mind, because the mind's job really is to keep you secure, keep you safe, keep you from being hurt. And so what it's doing, it isn't doing out of some kind of spite. It's just doing it because that's the way it's been done, and it feels like that's what's kept you safe. Even though it sounds odd, it wants to keep you in that place. And so we have to be compassionate to it. We don't want to beat ourselves up because we thought something. We want to, first off, just accept that we had this thought or we did this action. And we then want to start rethinking it. In other words, putting it into a place of, I don't like that I did that. I don't like that I said that. Don't like those thoughts. But that's what is, because that's how I've done it for probably years. And I really want to change it. I'm working on changing it. And then being compassionate to the mind. I talk about talking to the mind. I do it all the time. And if you think I'm crazy for doing it, that's okay. I don't. Because I want my mind to understand that even though it's kept me in that place because it felt it was safe for me, maybe at some point in my life, that place that it's keeping me was what helped keep me safe. It's not keeping me safe now. It's not what protects me. So I like to be compassionate and talk to my mind in a compassionate way. I'm so appreciative, I'll tap on and say, I'm so appreciative to you, mind, for doing your job, keeping me protected. And I know you believe what I did there or what I'm doing is protecting me. It really isn't. I'm realizing now that it's not helping me, and I want to change it. So I just keep talking compassionately to my mind to let it know that it's okay. I want to change this, but I understand why it's coming out. So, and I like to thank the mind for doing its work and asking it to work with me in changing to what really does protect me, what does keep me safe. And I ask my mind if it would work with me in helping me to change that perspective, change that picture. So I think in line with OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, I think a lot of these components play a role too. If you can become aware of the messages, in OCD, a lot of times the mind takes off on these wild messages, dangerous messages, these, my daughter, when she went through it, her messages were, somebody is going to get hurt if you don't do it this way. Somebody might even get killed. They were vicious, vicious messages, but she could never really explain them to me or never really even tell me them because she was so afraid of them. So I think becoming aware of these messages and allowing the messages can be the first step, even with OCD, in changing it. Because if you allow it, if you bring it out in front of you, if you catch it and at arm's length are looking at it, a lot of times it becomes then then it gives the person with OCD the opportunity to say, "Wow, that now I can really see that that is a way out there kind of message," and can use the ERP therapy, which I talk about in some of the other podcasts. You can look it up about ERP therapy. You can use those thoughts to hold and to change. And I think that will play a big role. Plus, I think for people that are having to deal with somebody um, that is dealing with OCD, they're going to have a lot of their own messages that they got to become aware of and be able to clear themselves of those messages so they can come at and help the OCD person with a clear mind, with clarity and excellence. Um, So, and the reason I do this, the reason I want to get past these messages and I want to catch them and become aware of them and accept them is because the messages really are what is helping to hold up the anxiety, which is keeping the anxiety there, which is keeping the OCD there. And so we've got to be able to work through those messages. You know, there is a thing called pure O when it comes to OCD, which means that what those people believe is that it's really all about the obsessions and not compulsions for them. So if we can get past the obsessive thoughts, if we can get them out, get them cleared, that is why it's so powerful and so important to do. So before you do anything, it takes some time to tune into yourself. And that takes some. Not a lot of people can really get into and tune into what is going on inside them. And it's getting out of your head and down into your feelings, your gut feelings, your heart, whatever you believe that your feelings reside. Maybe it's your soul. And it takes some time. And I find tapping in the mornings especially, I like to do what I call meditation. And that is being able to just sit back and kind of question myself a little bit about, so how am I really feeling right now? And sometimes I would recommend even pinching yourself just once or twice and go, okay, that's one kind of feeling. So you can start recognizing what all the feelings are like. You may be kind of out of touch with your feelings. So being aware of your feelings could play a major role. So the first part of it is tuning in and being cognizant all the time of listening to the messages that are being put out. And sometimes that's really hard to do, at least at first. But the more you do it, the more they will come. Then once you do get kind of tuned in, then be aware, very aware of what the messages are. Not that they're just messages there, but what they are. Let them try to bring them out. And as you are able to see them, as you might say, then find a way to be able to accept those feelings, even if they're rough, even if they're crude, even if it's a belief about somebody you love that you really hate at the moment. Bring it out. Why am I saying it that way? And see if you can, one, accept, okay, I said that. And, what I always look at when, you're around somebody all the time, you can't always like them every minute of the day. So it's okay if one point in their time you have kind of a hate for them or a dislike for them. Bring it out. Work it through. Be aware of it so that you can change it. So it's tune in to the body, to the mind. How you can even start out by just feeling your body, by touching parts of your body and recognizing those touches. I'm feeling my arm right now. I'm feeling my chest right now. I can actually physically feel that. So get in tune first, probably with your physical feelings, and then start tuning into the emotional feelings. How am I feeling down in my gut? So that you can start tuning into getting in touch with feelings. Because we have, as a society, I think, as a world, we have gotten away from feeling our feelings and being okay with our feelings. And it's time to get back on it, because feelings are our guide. Because if we go by our head, we're just basing everything off of, we're basing the majority of it off of history, what happened in the past. And that's really no way to really progress to the future. So if we go back into the feelings, into the gut sense about things, we can get back into what's our true guide. So you tune in, you be aware of, catch and be aware of the different stories you carry, and accept them. You don't have to like them, but accept them, because in accepting it's the only way to truly get past it. So if you may say, well, I don't want to accept something if I don't like it. Well, it is still what is for you. And it's being real to, you don't necessarily have to like it, but accepting that you're having the thoughts or the feelings or the actions is important, because then it's, again, gets it out kind of in front of you and allows you to start working on it. So be grateful that these things come up. Isn't it great that I now have awareness, because I can now do something with that awareness. I can work on that. So anyway, so this, I think, is where everything starts. No matter what the issue is, start from the fact of tuning into it. Just like you tune into your car when it makes a noise, you tune into the radio, and you want to make sure it's not that's not so much true now with digital, but in the day I grew up, you go between radios, you had static. And that static is kind of like when you're not tuned in. When you tune into the station, you get it clear, you get clarity to it. Same thing with your brain. You got to really tune into it to get clarity about what you are feeling. So I hope that's helped. I hope that you'll make a conscious effort to feel what you feel and be aware of it. Be cognizant of what's going on and giving it time to get there. And then being able to focus your life on how you feel about things. So I hope this has helped, and I hope that you will make some comments on this podcast in the invisiblewheelchair.com so that I can know a direction to go next. Thank you. That concludes this podcast. Please leave me a comment or question below. That gives me good direction where to go on future podcasts. I would love to hear your invisible wheelchair stories if you're willing to share it. If you would, go to invisiblewheelchair.com and click on Tell Your Story. I want to remind you that OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, is treatable, and I can help you get past OCD. So if you have heard this podcast and others, and you feel like you need further assistance and would like to spend some time with me working through any issues you have, then feel free to book a session at focusedhealthyfamily.com or familyocd.com, or you can call me at 704-562-1630. I also offer $85 off initial discovery session if you mention that you heard it on this podcast. Finally, don't forget that there is a tapping recording that coincides with this podcast you may want to take advantage of. I hope you have enjoyed this podcast and will join me for the next one. Remember to keep tapping, talking, and transcending your life to new heights. Thank you, and have a great day.